Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss an episode. Prices in the HDB resale market rose for the 11th consecutive quarter. Now, this comes on the back of property cooling measures that kicked in on September 30th last year. But an increase of 2.3% in the last quarter of 2022, it represents the slowest increase of last year as compared with 2.6% in the third quarter. Resale prices for the whole of 2022 grew by 10.4%, lower than the 12.7% rise in 2021. Resale transactions also fell by close to 1,000 between the third and fourth quarters of last year, a 12.6% decline in the number of transactions. Property analysts have said that price growth has moderated as buyers resist higher prices amid rising interest rates, as well as the latest round of property curbs. The curbs include a tightened loan-to-value limit of 80% for HDB loans and an interest rate floor of 3% for HDB loan eligibility letter applications. Private homeowners who wish to buy HDB resale flats also now have to wait for 15 months after selling their homes. Mr. Ismail Ghafoor, CEO of Propnex Realty, joins us now with more insight. With prices for HDB resale flats growing at a slower pace, would you say that we're starting to see the effects of the property cooling measures, or could there be other contributing factors?
Arianto, I think there are combination of factors that have resulted in the slowdown in the price growth in the fourth quarter. I mean, one thing was definitely very evident was the volume of transactions was almost 1,000 units lesser than that of the previous quarter. Obviously, we also attribute to the cooling measures that were announced towards the end of September having its effects, but you know the last quarter is also relatively a lull period with school holidays, people traveling. But on the other hand, one of the other factor I would also say here is this: there is a tight supply of resale flat in the market to start with. So a couple of things, as I've really highlighted, is the cooling measures, the lull moments, and the tight supply have attributed to lower volume of sales. In fact, if you look at it, the overall, the whole year of 2022, the volume of sales in the resale market was exactly 10% lower. In 2021, we had 31,017 units were transacted, while last year it numbers only 27,896 units overall was transacted. So therefore, I think in a way it is a good news. A little bit of a slowdown, a moderation in the prices means people who are really looking at resale flats need not to be too overly be worried about running away prices.
Mr. Ghafoor, you mentioned there is a tight supply of resale flats. So will that affect prices in terms of, can we expect prices to continue to grow at a slower pace in 2023? Because on one hand is that, on the other hand, supply-wise, HDB did say it will launch up to 23,000 BTO flats this year. Taking into account all that, how would you say the prices would be moving forward?
Yeah, I think one of the thing here is this: the public housing has been resilient for the last 4 years. We have witnessed continuous growth since 2019, 2021, and 22. No doubt the last 2 years we have witnessed a double-digit growth of more than 10%. In fact, the percentage of growth in 2021 was 12.71%, and last year it eased to overall 10.4%. And it is our prediction that in year 2023, which is this year, we are still expecting the public housing market to move up positively, but at a much lower pace at 6 to 8%. The key question here is this: why is the market is still going up? Because when we look at the alternative housing options, looking at the private property, the new launches, and the resale private property market, the prices have moved a fair bit upwards due to the higher construction costs and all other things, and the higher land bid prices. That's why the public housing market has been resilient, and we are expecting this year to have another positive growth of 6 to 8%. Interestingly, when we look at the million-dollar property transactions, that has caused a little bit of a concern whether public housing, are they going to remain affordable? But that numbers have also increased. If you look at it in year 2022, the numbers exceeded to $370 million transactions were done last year as compared to only 259. But what am I trying to say here is even though there are many million-dollar transactions properties, these represent less than 1.5% of the overall transactions. And most of the time, such units are in a very central location of very big houses like the jumbo flats or executive apartments.
So rounding up our discussion today, Mr. Ghaffur, for those looking to buy a house this year, like myself, what advice would you have for us? Would it be a good time to get one now?
I think certainly anyone who needs a roof, you can't postpone indefinitely. And there are also risks involved because inflation creeping up and property prices, land bid prices. I honestly think anyone who needs a roof over the head is to do a really serious planning, but buying within the means is of ultimate importance. Because, Haryanto, as you said, if you are looking for a flat, and as many people who are out there looking for a unit for a home to start with, the good thing here is we have got many options, but we have to weigh the options. For example, even though the government says there are increased number of BTO flats, but one have to wait to collect the keys in the range of at least 3, 4, or 5 years before you can shift in. And therefore, resale properties do provide a faster option. And some of the resale properties are also well renovated by the previous owner. Therefore, the newly married couple need not fork out a huge amount of money to renovate. And the government does give a grant up to $160,000 for people who are buying a resale flat, but that is for the lower tier income. Generally, people should be able to get 80 to 100 or 120,000 grant to buy a resale flat, and it is truly worthwhile to look at all options that suits your needs within one's means.
Thank you for the insights, Ismail Ghaffur, CEO of PropNext Realty. That's today's big story. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by clicking the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. Have a good weekend and we'll see you next week.